and welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Dwain Woode, MD Live as we continue our Blueprint series. If you were here earlier, thank you for coming back and coming back through. Shout out and a hand clap to everybody. And so we're going to continue our journey into our Blueprint series, which is what we were talking about earlier. And the Blueprint series is really designed to help us put in place those things that we need to have in place to be successful over the long haul. Okay? So we're looking for continued success into the future. Not just today, not just tomorrow, but what are we going to do over the long haul as we get into, as we get further into our health and into our life journey. That's what we want to do, right? So tonight we're continuing that journey in one of those places where we sometimes misunderstand what this tool is, and we're talking specifically here now about this idea of reflection. Okay, so we're continuing that journey one blueprint at a time. That's what we're doing in the series, and each one is designed to put a pillar, if you will, or something in place so that they are stepping stones on each other, so that you can have a complete system. If you're new to us, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. We educate, we empower, we encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted. And I am here because I want you to have success in your health, just like you're having in the other areas of your life as well. So you can show up for those things that are so important, the connection with family, with friends, with the community, and so that you can enjoy those dreams that you have always been pouring into and those things that you want to do with your family and your significant others. You don't need superhuman strength. You don't need to be Superman or Wonder Woman. No. What you need is a strategy you can trust. You need a plan you can follow, and you need support and determination to keep going, okay? So hello, welcome for all the folks who are here. If you are from another country, we welcome you. If you are from another state, if you're from another town, city, wherever you're coming from, go ahead and drop that in the chat because we'd love to give you a shout out as we move through, okay? So we're gonna hop right back in and go ahead and do our conversation as we were talking about earlier. If you were here, you saw that we had a little bit of challenge there. So we're back. And so let's go ahead and let's do that right now. And we're going to jump right back into our conversation as we discuss our Blueprint series. So give me a second, let's get back over there and we'll get started. All right, so welcome back to the Blueprint series. And in this episode, this is episode number 7, by the way. And our theme is the Reflection Blueprint. Reflection Blueprint. And remember, the idea of a blueprint is that it is designed, if you think about the building, it is designed to give us the structural underpinnings, if you will, and the guide for what we need to do so that we can be successful. If we follow the blueprint, if we follow it as it's designed, then we end up with the structure that we expect, okay? And so reflection is one of the most misunderstood and underrated tools in personal and metabolic stability. And it's not because people don't reflect, but because most of us, as we're reflecting, we reflect incorrectly. We don't do it the right way. We think of it more emotionally, reactively, and we instill and infuse a lot of judgment about what we're seeing. But we don't do it in a sense of often of getting data, right? There's always seems to be some emotional component that's tied to it, but it's not clinical, it's not structural, and it's really not diagnostic. And so what we want to do is we want to show you exactly how reflection can become a secret weapon for you, if you will, a superpower, right? And how it can become a diagnostic tool that allows you to review, to refine, and to realign your decisions so that your blueprint keeps you working in the direction you want to go so that you are successful. And even when things are changing around you, it still helps you to be successful. Right? But before we do that, I want to think back, and remember that's what we're doing right now. We're talking about our blueprint. But I want to hop back and I want to go back and I want to look at something that we discussed in our previous episode, right? And remember our previous episode, we were talking about resilience and what resilience was. And so we're going to spend a couple of minutes really kind of going back and discussing that. So resilience from our previous, let me do this. Resilience from our previous discussion was not designed. It was not a personal trait. Okay, we didn't think of it as some inner strength that you have, not as a motivational trait, but as an architectural outcome. So we said that resilience is structure under pressure. So the title was, how do you keep going, really? How are you able to be resilient when life is changing, when there's stress, when there's pressure? And so resilience is predictability under stress. It is the flexibility that comes without collapsing. And resilience is what happens when your systems are strong enough to carry you even when motivation disappears. That was our idea of resilience. And so this week, we want to we want to get into part 2 of that idea, because once the structure is created, right, your next question is, how do you maintain that structure? How do you confirm that it's still aligned with your goals? And how do you evaluate the places where you are, right, where there may be some stresses, emotions, distractions, or when the environment may have shifted you ever so slightly off course? Because a little shift here, if we're not careful, ends up being a big shift down there. It's kind of like drawing a line. If you're a few degrees off right here, by the time you get down the road a mile, guess what? You've gone way off. It's kind of like an airplane taking off. They want to make sure that they're going straight. Now, they veer off because they have radar and so forth. But if they are not aligned, right, they may end up in Washington State when they're supposed to be down near South California. Okay? And so we want to make sure that we're looking at those looking at those spaces, right? Okay? So structure that sticks, right? So we go through that. Blueprints for your health is what we're talking about, and the keys to better health. And reflection, as I said, reflection is the architect's secret weapon. Structure under pressure is what we talked about last week, as we just said. And so now let's talk a little bit about what reflection is, right? What exactly is reflection? Reflection is a structured evaluation of your internal and your external signals. And this is designed to lead to intentional realignment. Okay? So let me repeat that. Reflection is structured evaluation. Not feeling, not a mood, not a reaction, but structure. And we're looking at your thoughts, your hunger, your behavior, your triggers, your patterns, and we're looking to see what do we need to do so that we are intentional in our realignment if we need to, or in our progress. This is one of the most important blueprint tools you will ever learn because it turns every experience into information and every misstep into some guidance. And even when we're making decisions, every decision turns into a piece of data. And if we have data, we can use that. We can improve that. We can adjust. Okay? So reflection. So what are reflections? That is what reflections are. But what are they not? What is reflection not? Right? So just so we say, hey, this is what it is, let's talk a little bit about what it's not. It's not. Reflection is not a replaying of mistakes. I'm pausing, put a pin right there. Reflection is not this idea of I'm going to sit down and I'm going to rehearse all of the missteps. I already got an inner critic that does that for me. I don't need to give it any more fuel. So it's not me sitting down and lamenting over the mistakes I've made. Reflection is not me overthinking the choices. Have you ever done that? You made a choice and you keep replaying the choice over and over and over and over. Even if the choice was successful, we replay it. It's not emotional rumination. It's not me sitting down and just getting all worked up over something that happens. It's not judging myself harshly, right? That negative voice that's in my head. It's not obsessing over the day. And it's not rewriting the past. Now that's an important one because when we reflect, we want to put ourselves in the best light, and so we will rewrite what happened so that we are in the best light. That's not what this is intended to do. It's not about regret. It's not about guilt. It's not about rewriting or rewiring what already happened. It is a data-driven diagnostic tool. It's neutral. I can even say it's clinical. All right, it's calm. It's objective. This is the version of reflection that changes your life. This is the one that allows you to see the things that are happening in a way that sets you up for success. Not the emotional version, but the architectural version of reflection. That's where we want to be. And so, reflection is a clinical skill. Pause. It is a clinical skill. We're talking about health, right? So let's talk about it in that sense. From a biological and a behavioral standpoint. When you reflect, not emotionally, but structurally, you shift the brain's activity from the amygdala, which is the reactive survival portion, to the prefrontal cortex, which is the analytical, grounded, and controlled version. Here's a simple point. Step away from reflection for a minute. If you are in an emotional situation and you are somehow able to switch how you're thinking to a more structural way, then you get better. In fact, let me see. Do I have it? Well, you can see it right back there. Maybe you can see it back there. But around me, right, in my office, in my pocket, in my bag, behind me, you will see Rubik's Cubes all around. Why? And people think I just like doing Rubik's Cubes. No. It is my way of doing something fundamental and something tangible to divert my mind when I am working to be successful and I'm working to stay in the clinical sense. I'm trying to stay in the prefrontal cortex and not in the amygdala. So what I've done is I've given my brain something analytic to do, or analytical to do, that grounds me, that controls me. Because I can't be emotional at the same time that I'm being technical. Now, you may be able to do that, but it's hard to do. And the likelihood that I'm staying in the technical and now my prefrontal cortex has the ability to overshadow the amygdala goes up. It's the same idea of counting, right? Counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Say count to 10, count to 12 and 20, whatever, however number you need. That's the idea. That what we're doing is we're giving a pause for the prefrontal cortex to take over. And so going back now to reflection, the reflection, when we do that, when we do it in a structured way, it allows the amygdala to take second place to the prefrontal cortex. And that shift stabilizes you. Your metabolic decisions improve, your routines become stable, your emotional regulation goes up. Reflection rewires your response patterns. It changes your decision-making speech. It increases clarity, calmness, and predictability. That's what it does. So let's break it down. Let's break it down into 3 different areas. Okay. So number 1, reflection stabilizes metabolic decisions. Reflection stabilizes metabolic decisions. And this idea is a concept that I want you to get. You are less reactive and you're more stable. When you reflect, your brain slows down impulses. So we're ready to go, but the brain says, okay, let's calm down for a minute. When we reflect, it reduces our reactive eating. So we're reflecting, we're spending time, we're not using eating as a buffering behavior. It lowers the emotional urgency of cravings. It increases the likelihood of making intentional choices rather than reactive choices. And why does that happen? Because reflection activates the part of the brain that evaluates consequences and aligns decisions with long-term goals. Reflection moves you from, I felt hungry and so I ate, to I felt hungry, but when I reflected on it, I realized that it was stress, that it was not a food need, it was not a fuel need. Reflection clears the fog from your metabolic signals. It allows you to put right interpretations to the signals that are coming. Reflection builds strong routines, right? That's number 2. A behavior becomes a habit when your brain connects meaning to the action. Without meaning, your brain treats the behavior as an isolated event, which means your brain treats the behavior as part of a pattern. Reflection supplies the meaning. It says, this step mattered. This choice aligned with my structure. This is part of my rhythm. This pattern moved me forward. And reflection helps solidify the habit loop, not by forcing behavior, but by clarifying why the behavior pattern happened. What was going on? Think back to our COPE model: clarify, observe, pause, and execute. The idea there, this is the embodiment here. Right? This is the functional part of the COPE model. And then reflection regulates emotions. Right? Emotional stability, this interpretation, it calms the system. Reflection calms the autonomic nervous system. So there are two. There's sympathetic, parasympathetic ones, right? And then there are other divisions of the nervous system. One is called automatic, or autonomic. I should say automatic. It lowers cortisol. That reduces the threat activation. It reopens access to the analytical thinking. This whole idea of the Rubik's Cube. Reflection moves you from I'm overwhelmed to I am noticing something in myself. From this is too much to this is information I can use. Let me grab some of that. Reflection reduces emotional noise and increases emotional clarity. Right? So when we reflect, we see that there are connections that are happening. There are different dots that we can connect, right? Emotional stability. So let me connect the dots for you, and let's take a look at a particular situation that happened. Okay, and this was a patient, and really, if I said a patient, but I've had many patients that fall into this category, right? A simple example. A patient once said to me, "Hey doc, I really don't know what happened this week. I was going along fine, and things just got out of hand. My blood sugars are crazy. I don't know what happened. But we had a monitor on them, and so we said, okay, sure, let's look at the monitor." Now they said they didn't remember, they didn't know what happened, but the monitor showed late night spikes, afternoon spikes, evening instability in their blood sugars. And so we sat down and said, hey, let's take a look at this. What's going on here? Right? Tell me about that spike over there on that night. It's like, oh, that was the night when, we had had a long day, and I came home and I couldn't sleep. And so I stayed up and I made popcorn, and popcorn led to something else. So we got a spike. Hey, how about this one? Man, I was home and I was grazing. I was feeling kind of bored, didn't have anything to do. Okay. And how about this stuff here? This emotion, this stuff that's happening, these fluctuations that are happening in the evening. Well, that's when I come home and I really want to unwind, and I sit and I watch TV, and right. So as we're walking through, we're evaluating, by the way. We're reflecting. Not to judgment. Not to judgment. And when I asked, what's happening during the spikes? He paused and he said, yeah, I see now. I never connected the dots. I never realized that the spikes that you're seeing, that I'm seeing, that I was seeing, were directly related to what was going on with me at the time. I said, what were you thinking during that time? And so we spent some time walking through that. Now, I'm going to say to you, when I'm in the office, I ask those questions. And it is not uncommon for my patients. It's not uncommon for my clients. It's not uncommon for people I talk to think that those questions are intruding on their private life. And you guys, this what you see right here, this is I ask questions, I talk. But what I tried to convince them of, and what I want to try to convince you of, is that in order for you to understand, and this in this case, this was giving you an example of a person who is diabetic, but the same thing happens for other metabolic diseases. The same behavioral patterns show up. It just so happens that in a diabetic, when they have a continuous monitor on, it is very evident almost immediately what's going on. And there's a tracing. We can look back and we could say that. But connecting the dots and looking at this clinically and objectively, you begin to see, oh my goodness, every time this happens, I behave in this way. Every time I have that conversation with that person, this is the result. When you're reflecting, the practice of connecting the dots happens, and patterns become visible, causes become clearer, and decisions become more manageable. Otherwise, we don't know. This is the power of reflection. So how does reflection improve decision making? So now that we've covered the framework, I want to walk you through how reflection actually improves decision making at the structural level. Reflection is not passive, it is active. It actively rewires your brain. It rewires the way you interpret signals, the way you process urges, the way you respond to pressures, the way you adjust to unexpected circumstances. When you reflect consistently, 3 things become true. Number 1, your decision-making process becomes less emotional. Number 1. You no longer react from pure impulse, anxiety, guilt, or frustration. Reflection slows the loop down and inserts clarity. Now, I'm going to throw my hands up, right? I got to do a lot of reflection to slow that process. And in order for me to have the successes that I want, the successes that I am on my way to getting, the changes that you have seen in me, required reflection. Reflection, remember, your decisions become less emotional. Your decisions become more predictable. And predictability equals structural stability. The more predictable the decision, the stronger the structure. Give me the same situation 100 times, and I do it the same way 100 times, I'm predictable. It's not based on emotion, it's based on the situation. So decisions become more predictable. Your decisions become easier. Not because life gets easier, all right? But because because fewer decisions need to be made, because it is a reflex now. Reflection turns chaos into cues, and cues into clarity, and clarity into structure, and structure gives success. We don't have trouble succeeding because we don't have knowledge, or we don't have desire, or we don't have motivation. We don't have difficulty succeeding because we don't have structure. And so then why does reflection reduce decision fatigue? Right? So one of the hidden benefits of reflection is that it dramatically reduces the decision fatigue. And remember, decision fatigue comes when there is friction. So why does reflection help with that? Because when you reflect, you begin to see your patterns so clearly that the same issues stop surprising you. Reflection helps you to say, oh, wow, 3 p.m. is always my pressure point. Evenings always pull me towards destruction. Always pull me towards what? Cookies, candies, cakes. These 3 environments always shift my structure. I'm always doing this at this time. You begin to see that when you reflect. So my decision fatigue goes away, or goes down. I shouldn't say go away. When you identify predictable patterns, your brain says, hey, I don't have to put energy into figuring that out anymore. The answer becomes obvious. And when the answer becomes obvious, the decision becomes simpler. This is one of the greatest gifts of reflection. Now, you go to a family reunion, it's Christmas time, it's Thanksgiving, it's New Year's, it's your birthday, it's whatever it is, okay? And one of the most emotionally charged times can be the times we get together with family. For whatever the situation is, family reunion, holidays, and that pushes our buttons. And we know that. We see it. We hear it. But when we don't pay attention to it, it seems to be a surprise every single Thanksgiving. Like, man, every time I go home, I leave frustrated. Or every time I have, I interact with cousin whatever, this was happening. It's there. The pattern is there. But because we don't reflect in a structured way, we feel the emotions, and the emotions take on a life of their own. Reflections prepare you for stress. When you reflect, what you're doing is you're looking at the situation. And the more you look at the situation in an objective way, your system begins building expectation. Right? And when it builds expectation, it begins setting up systems. Your brain says, hey, we got to do something about this. Your brain narrows. The focus of your brain, I shouldn't say your brain narrows. Your focus of your brain narrows. The focus of your attention narrows. Your emotional signals. Your impulses. Your clarity. When stress happens, all of those go in the opposite direction. The emotions intensify, impulses strengthen, clarity shrinks. Why? Because we've gone into the amygdala. We've gone into the emotional part. And reflection widens the space back out. It gives you perspective, it gives you awareness, it gives you interpretation, and the micro pause needed to regain control. And that is the key, y'all. That right there, the pause is the key. Because if I could pause, I wouldn't have done some of the stuff I've done. And you be honest, right? And let's step away from food for a minute. In the rest of your life, in every aspect of your life, if you had paused, if you were able to process a little more, that decision that you made, that reaction that you gave would not have been the reaction. Just a moment I have a couple of friends and we joke all the time about this ability, right? I said, I should have picked up the phone and had one of you guys come. We have, I'm a sci-fi guy, so if we had a transport, say, I need you right now to just put your hand over my mouth or to stop me from doing that thing. Reflection, that micro pause. And reflection is the architect stepping back from the blueprint to assess the structure before making a change, before making another move. Hey, we finished this now. Let's look and see. Okay, yeah, that's where we need to go. Boom, let's move on. It's the pause before the pressure. It's the perspective before the decision, the clarity before the action. And reflection during fasting, as an example, right? Although this isn't a fasting episode, reflection is one of the most powerful tools during a fast. Reflection turns sensations into information. Hunger, is it really hunger? What kind of hunger is it? Is it emotional? Is it psychological? Is it physical? Fatigue. Why am I feeling fatigued now? Is this the transition point between going from burning carbs to burning fat? Irritability. What does that signal tell me? What's the story behind that? Clarity. What happened? Is this my ketones coming up, my beta hydroxybutyrate, the brain-derived natriuretic factor? And the cravings. What are the things that are pushing my buttons right now? The purpose isn't to go deeper into fasting, but it's to show you that reflection works across every single domain and every single discipline. Eating, decision-making, financial choices, relationships, mental health, structure, boundaries, emotional patterns, you name it. And if you instill reflection there, reflection gives you the language, the insight, and the calm to interpret your signals correctly. So how do we go about using reflection to adjust the environment? Okay, let's talk about that just for a minute. Your environment is one of the strongest consequences in behavioral design. And it's one of the strongest drivers of behavioral design. It influences what you see, right? We always talk about the environment. It influences what you hear. It influences what you crave. It influences what you expect, how you behave, how you respond under pressure. And reflection helps you to identify what your environment is doing to your structure. When you reflect, you begin to see things like, the kitchen is my pressure point at nighttime. Oh my goodness, look at that. I was doing fine up until I decided I was going to stay up. The office break room always triggers me. My phone pulls me off my task. This social situation destabilizes me. This physical clutter overloads my mind. Reflection reveals environmental influences, and once you see it, you can adjust it. Now we're going through the reflection, right? Because I want you to get the idea that reflection is built into every area of your life. And then reflection reveals trigger patterns. Triggers are not enemies. They're actually teachers. And when we can reflect on them, reflection gives you the ability to see the moment before the craving, the moment before the decision, The moment before the slip, the moment before getting off track, the moment before going off the ranch, the moment before going off the rails, the moment before life, the moment before the emotional spike, the moment before the blood sugar goes up. Reflection says, hey, what was happening around that time? What was happening inside me? What were the conditions? What was the pressure? Most people blame themselves for triggers. Architects diagnose triggers. Reflection converts shame into data, guilt into guidance, frustrations into clarity. This changes everything. And reflection also allows you to have self-compassion. It gives you self-compassion in a structural way. Because when you reflect correctly, you start to see your patterns not as moral failures, but as predictable outcomes and responses to the environment, to fatigue, to emotional load, to pressure, to routine gaps, to tiredness, to boredom, to shame, to pain, to history, to trauma. Reflection removes the shame from the equation. Instead of saying, man, I messed up again, you say, that's where the structure bent. Structure can be strengthened there. Structure can be reinforced there. Structure needs to improve there. Structure can be redesigned there. Reflection frees you to improve without self-judgment. Reflection allows you to be kind to yourself. The most difficult and the most problematic critic that we have is ourselves. And reflection gives us the space, it gives us the tools, it gives us the opportunity to love on ourselves and to give ourselves grace. And we need grace. We need patience. Nobody gets up and says, I'm just going to do whatever I can to make my life go sideways. You don't get up and do that. Right? But when it does, even if it is a decision that we've made, we have to have a tool. We have to have the ability to look at that in a way that says, I can improve because I'm making a decision based on the data that came from that. So what's one of the hidden benefits of reflection? Reflection creates insights. Reflection doesn't only help you understand the past, it helps you to predict the future. Because once you reflect enough, you begin to see patterns. You begin to see cycles. You begin to see triggers. You begin to see your high-risk moments, your stability windows, your decision zones. You begin to see the optimal times for your structure. And that's like having an insight. That's like having a view into the future. This is foresight. This is predictability. This is clarity. Reflection gives you the ability to say, the grocery store trip is always my danger zone. I know Thursdays drain me emotionally. My structure weakens after a long meeting. My clarity improves in the morning. We get to see that. This environment always destabilizes me. This is not intuition. It is patterned observation. Reflection turns your life into readable data. And that's why architects depend on diagnostics. And that is why you need to, have to, depend on reflection. And reflection helps to decrease overwhelm. Yeah. Reflection is a clinical skill. That's the idea of walking through. And I wanted you to get an idea of all the situations where this can happen. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the reflection or habits, advanced reflection. So patterns, right? So pattern anatomy. What do patterns look like? Now, so I want to give you something a little deeper, right? Something. This is the anatomy of a pattern. Every pattern has 4 parts. Every pattern. There's a trigger. This is what initiates the shift. So you're going along, right? There's a trigger. There's a response. This is what you do automatically. So without thinking, boom, right? This happened, this response. There's reinforcement. This is why your brain keeps choosing that thing. Because there is a benefit. There is a benefit. Did I say there's a benefit? There is a benefit. People say, well, there's no benefit to me doing that. There is a benefit. Well, you wouldn't do it again. And then there's the after effect. That's what happens next. So the trigger, the response, the reinforcement, and the after effect. And so the trigger happens, you respond in a way that gets reinforced by the benefit that you get. And then there's the after effect. This is what happens next. And reflection allows you to step into that and break the loop. Let's give an example. So there's some emotional tension. You have a conversation and it's tense. It's not the way you thought it was going to be. It went sideways. There's argument. Maybe there's not an argument. Maybe there's silence. But there is some friction there. Emotional tension. That's the trigger. The response is that you reach for a snack. We're talking about health, so let's throw it in there. You reach for a snack. Ben & Jerry's ice cream, by the way. Or Cadbury chocolate. Or, well, no, I won't go through the list. Okay? So there's a trigger, emotional tension. There's a response, grab a snack. The reinforcement is this, listen, is the temporary relief that comes from eating the snack. It's not about the sugar. It's not about the snack. It's not that you love that piece of food so much. It is that you get some relief from the tension that just came. And even though you know that that particular snack is not something you should eat at that time, notice I said at the time, the temporary relief, the ability to have the relief is stronger than your decision not to eat the snack. And so it reinforces the fact that if I eat the snack when there's tension, I get relief. Right? Trigger, emotion, tension, response, eat the snack. Reinforcement is I get relief, so I feel better. And here's the after effect. The after effect is the guilt that you felt. I shouldn't say you felt, the guilt that we feel because the eating of the snack brings guilt. It brings what we think is misalignment. Man, I couldn't even. Oh man, I shouldn't have. Or man, she made me. Or man, every time I talk to him, right? So there's this thing that happens, this conversation that we go into our head and we replay it over and over and over and over and over. And the more we replay it, the bigger and bigger and bigger it gets. And that itself is emotional tension, right? Notice emotional tension. It's trigger, 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 trigger. And what's the response that we have for emotional tension? We reach for a snack. And we reach for a snack, we feel better. Temporary relief. And we felt more guilt. And the emotional tension gets bigger. And we eat again, bigger, and right, so boom. So without reflection, this loop repeats over and over and over and over, and it grows bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It becomes, yeah. When we reflect, the loop becomes interruptible. And I want you to listen to me, and I want you to watch me. This is not that you reflect today and tomorrow all of a sudden the loop stops. Because the loop is so strong. The reinforcement is so strong. In fact, and here's the kicker. In fact, your anticipation of the reinforcement is what makes people eat the thing even when there may not be a trigger. Because they anticipate the dopamine and the relief that comes. So now we've taken the trigger and the response and we've moved them away, and now there's just the thing we feel. And without reflection, the loop continues to go over and over. Reflection helps you to identify which part of the loop needs to adjust. Sometimes it's the trigger, right? I got to get away from that. Sometimes it's the response. I got to find something else. Sometimes it's the reinforcement. Okay, what can I do differently? And sometimes it's the environment. So reflection helps us to go through that process and helps us to do what we need to do to be successful. Reflection helps you quickly adjust the blueprint instead of collapsing under the change or the pressure of life. Reflection does not prevent the pressures. It helps you to respond in a way that is beneficial. The reflection is an amazing tool. It is one of the most powerful tools in the Blueprint series. And it also is one of those that gets disregarded often. Because, I just don't want to sit and think about it. Well, reflection. We're not just sitting and thinking about it. We are reflecting. We are reflecting clinically. We're reflecting in a way that gives us the ability to make changes. Reflection equals clarity. And I want to encourage you with this. Reflection is not something you have to be good at. Reflection is something that you practice. It's something that you learn. It's something that you refine. It's something that you grow into. It's not a judgment of who you were today. It is a design for who you will be tomorrow. It's not about labeling your behavior. It's not about judging yourself. It's about learning from what's going on. It's about alignment, not about perfection. and it builds clarity. Clarity builds structure. Structure builds stability. Stability builds resilience. And all of that begins with reflection. So let's do one thing here really quickly. Okay? I want you to grab a piece of paper or pause, get a piece of paper. You may have to replay this, and that's good. That's okay. Okay? And so your assignment is a 5-minute reflection. 5 minutes. Right? And I want you to do this before you go to bed. Let's do this. Plan to incorporate this in your day, your daily reflection blueprint. Okay, ready? 3 questions. 5 minutes, 3 questions. Number 1, what moved me forward today? What behavior took me in the direction of my rhythm? Was it a conversation? Was it a decision that I made? Was it something I didn't do that was on my list that would have done something, right? So what moved me forward? Number 1. Number 2, what pulled me off course? If you want, you can make 2 columns, right? Forward and off. What moved me forward? What pulled me off course? Was it a phone call? Was it a conversation? Was it scrolling? Was it going to that store? Was it driving by that bakery? Was it staying up late at night? What was it that pulled me off course? And what can I adjust slightly? I'm not talking about big overhaul. What can I adjust slightly for benefit tomorrow? So what moved me forward? What pulled me off course? And what can I adjust slightly for tomorrow? And I want you to do this on a daily basis. Try this for the next week. If we do it tonight, do it tomorrow, right? Next week. Then again, by the end of the week, you will start to see patterns. By the end of the month, you will start to feel stability. And by the end of the season, your structure will be stronger because we're looking without judgment. It is the architect's secret weapon. This week, this episode, it becomes yours. So this is what I want you to do, right? So 5 minutes, 3 questions. Remember our goal. Our goal is to put in place the things that we need to be successful. The things that we need so that we are getting success, not just today, not just tomorrow, not just next year, but we're looking for long-term success so that we can move into the future, so we can be around for all the things that we need, and not that we need, for all the people that we want to connect with. Yeah. So quickly, let me do this. I want to do the inner design loop. Inner design loop. That's one of our stabilizing, one of the big tools that we use. So inner design loops. Let me get over there quickly. So the IDL. And remember the IDL. The idea here is that we anchor, right? We align and we adapt. Anchor, align, and adapt. Inner design loop. So I want this tool, and I want you to incorporate this tool into your life. Right, just like we looked at the 5 minutes, 3 questions, this is the driving force behind the changes that you will see. The inner design loop has 3 parts. Number 1 is this idea of alignment or rhythm, right? So anchor. So what is the thing? What is the thing that I'm doing? What has been going on in my life? What has been happening in my life? What is the anchor? What is happening this week? Right? But another way of looking at what moved me. Are my behaviors aligned with what I say I want? Right? So what moved me this week in the direction, by the way, in the direction that I say I want to go? Right? So what is my goal for this week? What is my bent for this week? What is the thing I need to do this week? What are the things I have to do this week? What are the things I'm looking to do this week? My anchor. Are the things I'm doing aligned with that? Am I making the right choices, the decisions, the places, the environment, the people? And then we adapt. And that's reflection. That's why the design loop is so important, because that last part is the reflection. I'm looking now to see, where do I need to tweak? What worked? What can I extrapolate from? What do I need to correct? What do I need to adjust? What do I need to put in place? The inner design loop. We anchor. What am I doing? We align. Are the things I do, or are the things I do they take me in that direction? And I adjust. So I have to reflect, and I have to make the choice of, hey, do I need to make a change? This is the power of reflection. This is the power that you have access to. This is your superpower. Master this. Master this ability to look at your life in a way that gives you data. Because every single day, you generate millions of pieces of data. Let's look at some of them and allow them to move us in the direction that we want to go so that we can be successful in our lives. We'll be back with more of the Blueprint series for your health. Join us next time. All right, y'all. So this reflection is an amazing concept. It is the, if you think of all of the tools that we've learned, right? The COPE model, right? Clarify, observe, pause, execute. If you think about the HEAT model, habits, emotions, access, and taste. If you think of the series that we've done, play your own game, the health action plan, there is a component of reflection in all of them, because the pause that comes through all of those requires the ability to reflect, the ability to objectively look at information, objectively look at situations, and glean the benefit of the knowledge that comes from them. I'm going to say, like I said before, if I had paused in several of those situations that I found myself in my life, it would have gone differently. If I had reflected, it would have gone differently. It's not an inner, it's not in the DNA. It is a learned skill. And our goal is to put all of those together so that we can make the decision. Think about it. Your decisions to eat, your decisions to not exercise, your decisions to stay up late, whatever the decision you're making, they're based on the situations that you find yourself in. And if we can somehow use that to our advantage, we are ahead of the game. All right. Well, so y'all, so we started our fast, and I didn't say that earlier. We started our fast today, a day early, because this is an interesting week, right? So holiday week. So we're going to be traveling. We're going to be doing some cooking. And so I started my fast a day early. This week, we're going to be doing a 56-hour fast. We're going to celebrate Thanksgiving with the family, and then we will come back. I will personally come back and do a fast after that. This is not a tit for tat, by the way. This is not, oh, you missed a day, so you got to do it. This is just my choice. Okay? And so I encourage you, as you are going through the season, that you make sure that you understand that the reason for this is the connection with family, with friends, and with the parts of your life that are so important. So the food, the fasting, the meal plan, the health plan should not be the thing that takes up your time. It needs to be the connection. It is a thing that you're using to help your health, and it fits into your game. So play your game, y'all. See I brought that around? Play your game. And make sure that you are staying consistent to who you are and staying consistent to what you want to do with your health. Hey, we will be back tomorrow. We'll do our pop-up tomorrow afternoon. That will put us at 24 hours, by the way. We'll do our show a little early tomorrow. It would be our 33-hour check-in, but it'll be a little earlier than 33 hours. It'll still be titled 33 hours, by the way. The thumbnail will still say that. And then the rest of the week, our schedule will be a little different. There will be something in each of the spaces where you're expecting, all right? So our 56-hour check-in and so forth. The pop-ups, you may see me popping up from different places. And then we'll have something in the space for the review on Friday as well. And then next week, we'll be right back here for Dwain Woode MD Live. We'll have our video from the vault. We'll also have This Week in Review on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. But join us tomorrow for our pop-up and then for our show tomorrow night. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. For those of you who came through and went away and came back after the glitch, thank you for being here, and thank you for all that you do in the community. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living limitless lives. I am here to help you have success in your health, just like you're having in other areas of your life. You don't need superhuman strength. You need a system you can trust. You need a plan you can follow, and you need the determination and the support to keep showing up every single time so you can be there for those events and those people that are so important. Family, friends, community, and for the dreams that you've been pouring into. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you. Oh, for our community members, we will, this Thursday was supposed to be our community meetup for this month. We'll do that a little later, so we'll let you know when that will happen, and that's because of the holiday. So enjoy, everybody. Have a great evening. Let's go ahead and let's listen to that MOVE campaign as we move out, and we will see you next time. Welcome to MOVE, Metabolic Optimization via Exercise. This isn't just about workouts. It's about moving your body, moving your habits, and moving your life forward. Each episode builds consistency, strength, and resilience step by step. I'm Dr. Dwain Woode, and together we're writing the story of health, transformation, and limitless living. This is MOVE. Let's get started.